When your life falls apart, your real self is being born. Don't run from the chaos, listen to it. It's not destruction, it's creation wearing a mask. The fire of confusion is the forge of identity. What you call chaos is actually your soul reshaping itself. The old patterns must burn for the true shape of you to emerge. When you find yourself in moments of deep confusion, when life no longer makes sense, when everything you built seems to be falling apart, when certainty slips through your fingers like sand, it's not because you failed. It's because something within you is trying to evolve beyond the structure you've been living in. Confusion is not the absence of clarity, it's the transition between two truths. The one that is dying and the one that's being born. You are standing in the middle of that sacred fire, and though it burns, it purifies. The human mind craves control, order, and predictability. We want life to follow a clear path, one that validates the stories we tell ourselves. But growth doesn't live in order. Growth hides inside disarray, inside the discomfort that pushes you to question who you thought you were. The moment you stop fitting into your own old life, your soul lights the fire of confusion. It's not punishment, it's a call to transformation. Think of it like metal in a forge. Before it becomes a sword, it must be placed in flames so intense that it loses its original form. The structure that once gave it shape must melt away so it can be reshaped into something stronger, sharper, and more purposeful. The same happens to you. The confusion that consumes your peace, the chaos that shakes your identity, that's the heat molding you into who you were always meant to be. At first, it feels unbearable. You question everything, your purpose, your direction, your worth. You feel as though you've lost the map of your life and are wandering through darkness with no sense of where to go. But that darkness is where your vision starts to sharpen. It's where you begin to sense rather than see. It's where intuition, the voice of your true self, begins to whisper. When everything external collapses, the inner voice finally gets heard. The fire of confusion is sacred because it forces you to let go of what no longer fits. Every version of yourself you've been, each identity, belief, and dream was necessary once. It kept you safe. But safety is not the same as truth. Safety often becomes a cage built from familiarity. And when your deeper self grows too big for that cage, it begins to push against the walls. The cracks you feel, those moments of anxiety, uncertainty, restlessness, are not signs of weakness. They're signs that your soul is expanding. The confusion isn't the problem. It's the evidence that transformation is taking place. Every person reaches a moment when life stops making sense in the way it used to. You wake up one day and realize that the things you've chased don't bring peace anymore. The roles you play feel heavy. The goals you once had seem empty. You might call it a crisis, but it's really an initiation. It's your consciousness shifting from survival to awakening. The fire of confusion is the alchemical space where the false self burns away, leaving only what is real. You see, clarity doesn't come before chaos, it comes through it. There's a reason why forests depend on fire for renewal. Some seeds will only open under heat. The old trees burn, the ashes enrich the soil, and from that destruction comes new life. You are no different. When your certainty burns down, it makes room for wisdom. When your identity dissolves, it makes room for authenticity. The pain of confusion is the process of regeneration. Most people fear confusion because they think it means they've lost control. But confusion is not loss, it's transition. You're not broken, you're becoming. Every time you've outgrown a chapter in your life, you've felt it. First as discomfort, then as chaos. You may have mistaken it for failure, but in truth, you were shedding your skin. You are stepping into a wider version of yourself. The mind will fight this process. It will cling to old beliefs, routines, and stories because it mistakes familiarity for safety. But the soul doesn't seek comfort. It seeks evolution. And evolution always feels chaotic before it feels clear. So when you're standing in the middle of confusion, when you don't recognize yourself anymore, remember that the forge is not meant to destroy. It's meant to refine. The heat you feel is shaping you into alignment with what you truly are. There is beauty in not knowing. There is sacredness in uncertainty, because only when the old definitions fall apart can you discover what lies beneath them. The person you thought you were is just the surface. Underneath is something far more vast, far more alive. Confusion burns away the masks you've worn. The people pleaser, the perfectionist, the one who had to be strong, the one who had to be right, and reveals the raw, unfiltered essence beneath it all. And in that rawness, something miraculous happens. You begin to see yourself honestly. You start to hear your thoughts without judgment, to feel your emotions without running from them, to notice the quiet rhythm of your own truth. It's not the clarity that comes from answers, it's the clarity that comes from presence. The fire doesn't give you explanations, it gives you awareness. It reminds you that identity is not a fixed point, it's a continual unfolding. When you stop resisting confusion, it becomes your greatest teacher. It shows you what needs to die and what is waiting to live. It asks you to surrender, not in defeat, but in trust, because deep within that uncertainty, your real direction is being written. The mind screams for answers, but the soul whispers, wait. The fire works in silence. It melts what's false until only truth remains. You may not see it now, but every breakdown you've ever faced has been a bridge to a deeper self. Every time you thought you were lost, you were actually being guided toward authenticity. The fire of confusion doesn't erase who you are. It reveals who you've always been beneath the noise. It strips away the layers of conditioning, expectation, and illusion until all that's left is you, raw, real, and ready to rise again from your own ashes. Your shadow holds your power. The parts of you you reject, fear, pain, doubt, are not your enemies. They are your raw, unpolished strength waiting for light. There's a side of you that you rarely speak to, a silent presence that follows you everywhere. It shows itself in your fears, your insecurities, your anger, and your shame. You push it down, cover it up, deny its existence, because you've been taught that only the light within you is worthy. You show the world your best side, the calm, the capable, the kind, but beneath that surface lives the shadow, the collection of emotions, impulses, and truths that you've buried just to survive. Yet the more you run from it, the stronger it grows. The shadow doesn't disappear when ignored. It waits, whispering from the depths of your being, asking to be seen, asking to be integrated. Every time you reject a part of yourself, you give that part power over you. The fear you suppress becomes anxiety. The anger you deny becomes self-hate. The sadness you hide becomes numbness. You think you're protecting yourself by avoiding pain, but in reality, you're fragmenting your soul. Wholeness is not found in perfection. It's found in embracing every part of yourself, especially the ones you've been told to silence. Your shadow is not evil, it is misunderstood. It carries every emotion you were punished for showing. It holds every dream you gave up because someone said it wasn't realistic. It remembers every time you pretended to be fine just to be accepted. The shadow is the record of your authenticity, the real you that never got permission to exist. It's the wildness that civilization tried to tame, the fire that fear tried to extinguish. But here's the truth: the shadow doesn't need to be destroyed. It needs to be listened to. When you finally turn toward it, you'll see that what you feared the most wasn't the darkness itself. It was your own power hidden inside it. because your shadow holds your strength in exile. The parts of you that seem chaotic are actually the sources of your deepest potential. Your fear is a signal of what matters most to you. Your anger shows where your boundaries have been crossed. Your sadness reveals what your heart truly values. These emotions are not weaknesses, they are messengers carrying the energy of transformation. But to hear them, you must stop running. You must walk into your own darkness without judgment. Sit with your pain instead of numbing it. Let your doubts speak instead of silencing them. It will feel uncomfortable, even terrifying, because you're entering the unknown territory of your own psyche. Yet in that darkness, there's a sacred mirror waiting, a reflection of who you are when no one is watching, when the masks fall away. That's where the real healing begins. You've been told all your life to stay positive, to let go of negativity, to focus on the good. But in trying to stay in the light, you've split yourself in half. You've buried the parts that didn't fit the image of who you thought you should be. The truth is, light without darkness is incomplete. Growth without shadow work is illusion. You can't rise into your highest self without descending into the depths of who you are. The flower can only bloom because the seed was once buried underground. To embrace your shadow is not to glorify pain. It's to reclaim the energy locked within it. That suppressed anger can become passion. That fear can become awareness. That sadness can become empathy. Every emotion you've avoided carries a gift, a potential waiting for recognition. When you accept your shadow, you stop wasting energy fighting yourself. You become unified, grounded, authentic. You no longer need to wear masks because you are no longer afraid of your own reflection. Most people live in conflict with themselves. They fight their thoughts, their habits, their emotions, as if they're battling an enemy inside. But what if that enemy is actually an ally wearing a disguise? What if the pain you've been avoiding is just your inner power asking for attention? Every human carries this paradox. The things that hurt us also hold the key to our healing. The shadow is where your hidden genius sleeps. It's where your resilience, creativity, and courage are born. The brightest light always emerges from the deepest dark. When you allow yourself to feel everything, to rage, to cry, to tremble, you reconnect with the energy of your own life. You stop being a divided self and start becoming whole again. This isn't weakness, it's integration. It's the process of bringing back the lost parts of your soul that you abandoned to please others, to fit in, to survive. You begin to see that there was never anything wrong with you. There was only pain that needed attention, fear that needed compassion, and darkness that needed understanding. Your shadow carries memories of every moment you betrayed yourself to be loved. Every time you said yes, when your soul screamed no. Every time you swallowed your truth to keep the peace. Those wounds don't disappear. They live in your body, in your subconscious, shaping your choices without you realizing it. To face the shadow is to reclaim your sovereignty. It's to stop living on autopilot and start living consciously. When you integrate your shadow, something extraordinary happens. What once triggered you begins to teach you. The situations that once broke you now reveal your strength. You stop needing validation from others because you've finally accepted yourself, both the light and the dark. You realize that perfection is a lie. Authenticity is the only truth worth chasing. The person who accepts their shadow is unstoppable because they no longer fear rejection or failure. They've already made peace with the darkest parts of who they are. Look within and ask yourself, what am I hiding from? What emotion am I afraid to feel? What memory am I pretending never happened? Because behind every suppressed emotion lies a fragment of your power. And until you bring that part home, you'll always feel incomplete. The goal isn't to erase your shadow, it's to stand beside it. It's to walk with your fear, to learn from your pain, to let your doubt guide you toward humility and wisdom. You were never meant to live in constant light. You were meant to move between light and dark, between certainty and confusion, between strength and vulnerability. That is the rhythm of being human. And in that rhythm, your shadow is not a curse, it's a companion. It's the part of you that knows how to survive storms, how to endure, how to rebuild. The parts of you you've been rejecting are not flaws. They're fragments of strength that have been waiting for you to finally look their way and say, "I see you." Your shadow doesn't ask to be fixed, it asks to be understood. It doesn't want control, it wants connection. When you bring light to it, it transforms. Not into something different, but into something integrated, something real, something whole. Because every ounce of fear, pain, and doubt you've ever tried to bury carries within it the exact power you've been searching for all along. Order without inner work is just control. You can't create external order until you face your internal storms. Real peace isn't the absence of chaos, it's learning to dance with it. We live in a world obsessed with order. We organize, schedule, and structure every part of our existence, believing that control will protect us from pain. We clean our homes, set our routines, make endless to-do lists, and call it peace. But beneath all that structure, something restless stirs. A quiet anxiety, a subtle emptiness, a feeling that no matter how perfect things look outside, something inside is still unsettled. That's because order built on avoidance is not peace, it's disguise. You can't organize your outer world into harmony while your inner world remains in conflict. The mind may crave control, but the soul craves integration. Most people think peace means having no problems, but real peace is not a silent room or a tidy life. It's standing in the middle of chaos and still feeling anchored. It's being able to look your fears in the eye and not run from them. It's realizing that calm doesn't come from arranging your environment. It comes from understanding your emotions. You can sweep the floors of your house 100 times, but if you haven't faced what's hiding inside your heart, disorder will always return in another form. Order without inner work is fragile. It depends on everything staying the same. The moment life shifts, and it always does, that false order crumbles. One unexpected event, one betrayal, one heartbreak, and the illusion of control shatters. You can't build lasting peace on top of unhealed wounds. You can't keep suppressing anger, fear, and grief while pretending everything is fine. Because suppression isn't order, it's pressure. And pressure always finds a way to break free. True order begins when you turn inward, when you dare to explore the storms you've been avoiding. Your anxiety, your insecurities, your disappointments, they are not obstacles to peace, they are the doorway to it. Every emotion you bury becomes a storm cloud in your subconscious. The more you deny it, the darker it grows. The only way to calm the storm is to step into it, to let the rain wash through you, to let the thunder teach you what it's been trying to say. Inner work is not about fixing yourself, it's about facing yourself. It's about asking, why do I crave control so much? What am I afraid will happen if I let go? Behind every need for order lies a deeper wound. The fear of uncertainty, the fear of chaos, the fear of not being enough. We try to control the outside world because we feel powerless inside. But the moment you begin to understand your own chaos, you stop needing to control everything around you. You realize that life was never meant to be perfectly ordered. It was meant to flow. The universe itself was born from chaos. Stars were formed out of explosions, galaxies spun out of disorder, and every beautiful structure in existence came from cosmic turbulence. Why should you be any different? Your inner chaos is not a mistake. It's a creative force. When you suppress it, you stop your own evolution. When you face it, you transform it into wisdom. The storms inside you carry energy. Energy that, once understood, becomes direction, clarity, and strength. People often confuse control with peace because control feels safer. It gives you the illusion of mastery. You think, if I can manage everything, I'll finally feel okay. But real peace doesn't come from managing. It comes from trusting. Control demands constant vigilance, constant resistance. Peace requires surrender. It's the difference between holding your breath and finally exhaling. When you let go of the need to control every outcome, you begin to experience life as it truly is. Not as something to master, but as something to move with. The problem with external order is that it can become a distraction from the inner work you need to do. You may call it productivity, but often it's just avoidance. You keep yourself busy to avoid the silence, because in silence, you might have to feel what you've been running from. You might have to admit that the order you've built is only a wall to keep your emotions at bay, but walls don't heal. They only separate you from yourself. The chaos you refuse to face doesn't disappear, it waits. It waits in your relationships, in your patterns, in your sleepless nights. When you start to face your internal storms, something remarkable happens. You realize that chaos isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to teach you balance. Every emotion, every breakdown, every moment of confusion carries a message. The anger shows you where your boundaries have been violated. The sadness reveals what you truly value. The fear points toward what you've been called to grow into. Chaos is not the opposite of order, it's the birthplace of it. Real peace is fluid. It moves with the rhythm of life. It doesn't resist what comes or cling to what goes. It's the calm that exists even when the wind howls. And to reach that kind of peace, you must stop trying to control your emotions and start learning from them. You must let the storm inside you express itself, rage if it must, cry if it needs to, and then, slowly, it begins to settle. You'll see that the storm was never your enemy. It was your cleansing. It was the inner world rearranging itself so that true order could finally emerge. When you try to create order without inner work, you become rigid. You start living in fear of mess, of change, of imperfection. You become a prisoner of your own systems. But life is messy. It's unpredictable, emotional, wild, and that's its beauty. The deeper peace comes not from controlling that wildness, but from learning to move with it gracefully. Like a dancer who doesn't fight the music, but flows with its rhythm, you learn to move in harmony with your own chaos. To do that, you must allow yourself to feel everything. Every surge of emotion, every tremor of uncertainty. Inner work is not about removing chaos. It's about understanding it so deeply that it loses its power to frighten you. The person who knows their storms cannot be destroyed by them. The person who has faced their darkness no longer needs control. They have trust. Trust is what grows after you've faced yourself. It's the quiet knowing that even when things fall apart, you can handle it. It's the realization that peace doesn't come from perfect circumstances, but from inner stability. When your inner world is aligned, the outer world can shift, break, change, and you'll still stand firm. That's the paradox. The more you face your inner chaos, the less you need to control anything. Because you've made peace with the storm inside you. You've learned that real order is not something you build. It's something that grows naturally from within when you finally stop fighting with yourself, when you stop chasing control and start listening to what your inner storms are trying to say. You discover that peace isn't the end of chaos. It's the wisdom that arises when you learn to dance with it. Transformation begins in the ruins. Every collapse is sacred. When the life you built crumbles, it clears the space for something truer, something yours. There comes a moment in every human life when the structure you've relied on begins to fall apart. The job that defined you disappears. The relationship you thought would last forever breaks. The identity you clung to no longer fits. It feels like death. The death of everything familiar, everything safe, everything that once gave you meaning. And in that moment, when the pieces of your world lie scattered around you, it's easy to believe you've lost everything. But what if that collapse isn't the end? What if it's an initiation? The beginning of transformation that could only happen once the old world burned away. Every collapse carries sacred purpose, though it rarely feels that way when you're standing in the ashes. You ache, you grieve, you question everything. The mind screams for control, desperate to rebuild what once was. But the truth is, transformation requires destruction. You cannot build a new life on top of foundations that were never truly yours. The ruins you fear are not punishment. They are the clearing space where authenticity begins. Human beings are creatures of attachment. We hold tightly to what we know, even when it hurts. We'd rather cling to the familiar pain than face the unknown. But life, in its deep intelligence, has a way of intervening. When you refuse to let go, it takes away what no longer serves you. It shakes you loose from illusions. It removes the false supports so that you have no choice but to stand on your own truth. It hurts because the old life was never meant to last. It was only a bridge to the next evolution of who you are. When your world collapses, you are stripped bare. The masks you wore, the roles you played, the titles you carried, all fall away. What remains is raw, unfiltered existence. And that's where transformation begins. Not in strength, but in surrender. Not in certainty, but in the trembling acceptance of not knowing. You begin to see that what's falling apart is not life turning against you, but life clearing away what you outgrew long ago. The collapse becomes sacred because it reveals what's real. You see, the things you lose during collapse are never the essence of you. They're the layers you built to protect yourself. The image, the expectations, the habits, these were your armor. But when the storm tears that armor away, something miraculous happens. Beneath the wreckage, you begin to feel life directly again. The air tastes different. Time slows. You notice what you had forgotten, the sound of your own breath, the stillness of the present moment, the small flicker of awareness that says, "I'm still here." That flicker is your rebirth. Transformation isn't born in comfort. It grows from pain, from loss, from the humbling realization that you are not in control. When the structures of your old life fall, they take with them your illusions of permanence. You learn, often painfully, that everything external can be taken from you. And in that realization, a deeper truth begins to whisper: if everything can be lost, then perhaps your true foundation must come from within. You stop searching for stability in things that shift and start seeking it in something unbreakable. Your own consciousness. The ruins are not silent, they speak. They tell you what mattered too much, what defined you too deeply, what you believed you couldn't live without. In the echoes of collapse, you hear the truth about what you were building. Whether it came from fear, from pride, or from love, most of what falls away does so because it was built from fear, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being unseen. And so, when life takes it from you, it's not cruelty, it's mercy. It's the universe saying, this version of you cannot walk forward, let it fall. We think transformation is a gentle process, but it isn't. It's violent in its honesty. It dismantles the structures we built on false ground. It strips us of pretense and demands vulnerability. It doesn't ask politely, it tears away what's decayed so something alive can take its place. And when everything around you is gone, When you are standing amid ruins, you begin to realize that you were never what collapsed. You were the witness. You were the awareness watching it all fall, untouched, waiting for the next creation to rise. In the ruins, you meet yourself without the noise of identity. You begin to see the difference between what you thought you wanted and what your soul has always longed for. The dreams that survive collapse are the real ones. They are the seeds buried deep in your heart, waiting for the soil of endings to make them grow, because the truth is, some things can only bloom after destruction. The ashes feed the roots. The emptiness makes space for clarity. Pain has its own intelligence. It doesn't come to harm, it comes to awaken. When life falls apart, it's because something inside you has outgrown the structures that once held it. The collapse is the soul's rebellion against falseness. It says, "You've lived long enough pretending. Now it's time to live true." The pain that follows is the fire of transformation, burning away everything that isn't aligned with who you're becoming. The beauty of the ruins is that they don't lie. They don't pretend to be whole. They don't wear masks or hide their cracks. They are honest, and when you finally allow yourself to live like that, to be broken, honest, open, you begin to rebuild, not from perfection, but from truth. The new life that grows from the ruins carries a different kind of strength, not the strength to control, but the strength to trust, not the strength to hold on, but the strength to let go. There's a sacred stillness that follows collapse. It's the silence after the storm, when everything inside you has been stripped to its essence. At first, it feels like emptiness, but if you sit in it long enough, you'll realize it's not emptiness, it's potential. The ruins are the blank page of your next chapter. You begin to understand that the collapse didn't destroy you, it freed you. It freed you from everything that kept you small, from the expectations that were never yours, from the patterns that no longer served you. And so, when life tears something away, when the structure you built disintegrates, when nothing feels familiar anymore, don't rush to rebuild immediately. Sit in the ruins. Listen. There's wisdom in the rubble. There's clarity in the silence. The parts of you that survive the collapse are the parts meant to last. They are the foundation upon which something truer, something alive, something entirely yours will someday rise again, not from perfection, but from the sacred fire that once turned everything you thought you were into ash. The battle is not outside, it's within. The monsters you think are out there, they live in your mind. When you face them inside, the world outside changes shape. Every human being walks through life believing that the greatest struggles exist somewhere outside them. People who wronged them, systems that failed them, circumstances that crushed them. We point to the world and say, that's where my pain began. But what if the true battleground isn't out there at all? What if every fight, every fear, every heartbreak you've ever endured was only a reflection of the war inside you? The mind is a landscape filled with shadows, and the monsters you run from are not strangers. They are the unloved, unhealed parts of yourself begging for attention. The mind has a strange way of projecting what it refuses to face. The fears you bury become people who seem to threaten you. The insecurities you suppress turn into situations that mirror your doubt. The anger you deny manifests as conflict wherever you go. You think you're battling the world, but the world is simply showing you the parts of yourself that remain unresolved. Life is a mirror. It reflects your inner weather. When your mind is in turmoil, everything outside looks like a storm. But when you face that turmoil directly, the world begins to calm. The monsters that haunt you are not demons sent to destroy you. They are emotions, memories, and beliefs that you have turned away from. Fear, jealousy, guilt, shame. They are energies that live within, taking shape in your perception. They whisper lies: you're not enough, you'll fail, you're alone. You try to silence them, to distract yourself, to numb their voices with noise or achievement. But they never truly leave. Because they don't need punishment, they need understanding. They are parts of your psyche that were cast out long ago, pieces of you that felt too painful to accept. To face the inner battle is to reclaim those lost parts. It means walking into your own darkness and saying, "Show me what I've been running from." It takes courage, because the mind can be a cruel place when left unexamined. You'll encounter fears that feel ancient, pain that doesn't seem to have a beginning, and wounds that bleed even after years of pretending they've healed. But facing the inner monsters doesn't destroy you. It transforms you. Because when you meet them with awareness, they stop being enemies and start becoming teachers. You might think the world is full of chaos, full of people who hurt, betray, or disappoint you. But the world simply reacts to the vibration you carry. If you believe you are powerless, life will show you situations where you feel helpless. If you carry resentment, you will meet people who mirror that anger back to you. And if you carry love, forgiveness, and understanding, you'll begin to see those qualities reflected everywhere. The outer world shifts in direct proportion to the inner world you nurture. This is the hardest truth to accept, that you are both the battlefield and the warrior. Because it's easier to blame something external than to confront the pain inside. It's easier to fight others than to face your own reflection. But until you face what's within, no amount of outer victory will bring peace. You can conquer the world and still feel empty if you haven't conquered your own mind. The wars outside end only when the war within begins to heal. The monsters within are born from old pain. Some came from childhood wounds, the moments you felt unloved, unseen, or unsafe. Some were created by heartbreaks that shattered your trust. Others came from disappointment, failure, or betrayal. You buried them because they hurt too much. You told yourself, "I'm fine, I've moved on." But the psyche never forgets. The suppressed pain becomes energy, and energy always seeks expression. That's why you relive the same patterns, meet the same types of people, face the same struggles. It's your inner world trying to be acknowledged. Healing begins the moment you stop fighting your inner monsters and start listening to them. They speak through triggers, the things that upset you the most. Every time someone makes you angry, fearful, or defensive, that emotion isn't caused by them. It's awakened by them. They touch something inside you that's still tender. When you stop blaming and start asking, "Why did this trigger me? What is this emotion trying to reveal?" you begin to disarm the monster. Awareness dissolves fear. Light dissolves darkness. The very act of observing your inner chaos with compassion begins to transform it. The mind loves to externalize, to make the problem something out there. That's how the ego survives. It needs an enemy. It needs to be right, to be a victim, to have something to fight. But the moment you realize that your greatest enemy and your greatest ally both live within, the illusion of separation fades. You begin to understand that the people who challenge you the most are often mirrors sent to show you your hidden wounds. The betrayal you hate may be teaching you self-respect. The rejection you fear may be guiding you towards self-acceptance. The pain you blame others for may be calling you home to yourself. Facing your inner monsters doesn't mean becoming passive. It doesn't mean ignoring injustice or abandoning boundaries. It means acting from awareness instead of reaction. When you know your inner storms, you stop being controlled by them. You no longer respond with blind anger or fear. You respond with clarity. The world outside no longer feels like a battlefield because you're not projecting your wounds onto it. You can see conflict and still remain centered. You can face chaos and still feel peace. Inner mastery doesn't come from silence, it comes from relationship. You learn to talk to your fear, to sit with your sadness, to hold your anger like a child who's crying for help. The monsters within lose their claws when you give them your attention. You start realizing that the darkness you feared was never trying to devour you. It was trying to be understood. Every shadow within you is an aspect of your humanity waiting to return to the light. The more you face your inner battles, the clearer the outer world becomes. You stop seeing enemies and start seeing reflections. You stop feeling powerless and start feeling connected. You realize that every challenge is a mirror showing you how far you've come. The world doesn't suddenly become easier, it becomes understandable. You can walk through it with awareness instead of fear. You no longer need to fix everything outside, because you've learned to find peace inside. When you reach that space, you begin to sense something extraordinary. The monsters were never against you. They were the guardians of your evolution. They pushed you to grow, to confront, to awaken. The world outside was never your opponent. It was your classroom. And every battle you fought out there was only preparing you for the one that mattered most, the one within your own mind. Because once you win that battle, once you make peace with the monsters inside you, the entire world begins to change shape right before your eyes as integration creates wholeness. You don't escape chaos by fighting it, you integrate it. The moment you accept your darkness and light as one, you become whole. We spend our lives trying to edit ourselves into perfection, cutting out the parts we don't like, suppressing the feelings that make us uncomfortable, hiding our shadows behind masks of confidence and control. We think that peace comes from eliminating chaos, that joy comes from erasing pain. That light can only exist if darkness disappears. But the truth is the opposite. Wholeness doesn't come from separation, it comes from integration. The moment you stop running from your inner contradictions and begin to embrace them as sacred, you start to feel something deeper than happiness. You begin to feel real. The mind loves duality. It labels everything as good or bad, right or wrong, success or failure, light or dark. It creates these divisions to feel safe, to make sense of the world. But your soul was never divided. It doesn't know sides, it knows unity. Every aspect of you, from the most beautiful to the most broken, is part of the same divine design. Your anger, your fear, your shame, your love, your compassion, they all belong to the same field of being. The problem isn't that you have darkness, it's that you've been taught to be ashamed of it. The parts you reject don't disappear, they wait. They sit in the depths of your unconscious, whispering through dreams, emotions, and impulses. They find ways to express themselves when you're least expecting it. The anger you suppress leaks out as bitterness. The sadness you bury turns into numbness. The fear you deny becomes control. You think you've escaped your chaos, but it simply wears new masks. It hides behind productivity, achievement, perfectionism, even kindness. Until one day something breaks. The old strategies stop working. You can no longer hold the mask in place, and the darkness you've avoided floods the surface. That's not your destruction. It's your integration calling. It's life demanding honesty. Chaos is not the enemy of order, it is the raw material from which order is born. When the light finally meets the dark, the war inside you begins to dissolve. You stop needing to be one thing or another, right or wrong, perfect or broken. You begin to see that both sides of you exist for a reason. Your light gives you direction, your darkness gives you depth, your confidence pushes you forward, your doubt keeps you humble. Your joy opens your heart, your pain teaches it how to heal. Integration doesn't mean celebrating your chaos blindly. It means sitting with it without judgment. To integrate is to look at your fear and say, I see you. To face your jealousy and say, you have something to teach me. To hold your sadness and say, you belong here too. When you stop rejecting your emotional experiences, you reclaim the energy you've been wasting fighting yourself. That energy transforms into awareness, creativity, and strength. You stop living in fragments and start living as a complete being. Most people mistake control for peace. They think if they can manage every emotion, plan every move, and silence every shadow, they'll finally feel safe. But control is not peace. It's tension disguised as stability. True peace comes when you no longer need control, when you can let your chaos coexist with your clarity. When you realize you are not the storm or the calm, you are the sky that holds them both. Integration turns conflict into harmony. It doesn't erase contrast, it teaches you to dance between it. You can't integrate what you refuse to see. That's why the first step toward wholeness is awareness. Awareness doesn't fix you, it reveals you. When you become aware of your contradictions, your habits, your triggers, your wounds, you stop being a puppet to them. They lose their power because they're no longer operating in the dark. Awareness is light, and light transforms everything it touches. When you bring awareness to your fear, it becomes guidance. When you bring awareness to your pain, it becomes wisdom. When you bring awareness to your past, it becomes purpose. You might think integration means healing everything at once, but it's not about speed. It's about presence. Each part of you reveals itself when it's ready. The ego will try to rush, to fix the darkness quickly so it can feel safe again. But integration is not fixing. It's befriending. It's sitting with the wounded child inside you without trying to change them. It's allowing your anger to speak before it's silenced. It's realizing that every emotion, no matter how uncomfortable, has intelligence. The moment you stop fighting your inner experience, it starts to soften. Integration is the opposite of fragmentation. Fragmentation happens when you split yourself into parts. One that you show the world and one that you hide. You wear masks to protect yourself from rejection. You play roles to feel accepted. But each time you do, a little piece of you gets left behind. Over time, you start to feel empty, disconnected, like something is missing. That missing piece is always you, the version of you you refused to love. Integration is the sacred act of bringing those exiled pieces home. You cannot become whole by choosing only your light. Light without darkness is blinding. It lacks dimension, empathy, truth. The depth of your humanity lies in your ability to feel it all. Wholeness doesn't mean perfection. It means inclusivity. It means holding your contradictions with compassion. You can be both soft and strong, both broken and beautiful, both lost and wise. When you allow those opposites to coexist, your soul expands beyond the narrow limits of identity. You begin to live as something larger than the person you thought you were. The alchemy of integration transforms pain into power. Every time you face a dark emotion, you reclaim energy that was trapped in it. The sadness you integrate becomes empathy. The fear you integrate becomes intuition. The anger you integrate becomes courage. The shame you integrate becomes humility. You begin to see that nothing within you was ever wasted. It was only waiting for love. Love, in its truest form, is not the absence of darkness but the willingness to hold it without fear. When you live from integration, you stop needing validation. You no longer chase perfection because you understand that even your imperfections serve your evolution. You stop fearing mistakes because you see them as mirrors, not failures. The world stops feeling like a test and starts feeling like a dialogue between your inner and outer selves. You realize that every encounter, every challenge, every heartbreak was guiding you toward yourself. The more you integrate, the less you resist. The less you resist, the freer you become. Wholeness is not a final destination. It's a state of alignment that grows with awareness. The more you allow your contradictions to coexist, the more peaceful you become. The darkness within you stops being a threat and becomes a foundation. It gives weight to your light. It grounds your joy and meaning. It gives your kindness a backbone. To integrate is to see life not as a series of battles, but as a conversation between forces that complete each other. Light and dark, chaos and order, creation and destruction. They all belong to the same rhythm.